Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Twisted Talks. I'm Josh,
I'm Tanya.
and this week Tanya is covering a Irish case.
Yes, it's Irish, yeah.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure because we got to point out extra when it's Irish.
Yeah. And as well, this
um,
week we are recording over the Anchor app. So if there's any differences in sound quality or anything like that, or any time delays, that's why. We're just being lazy. Well, I'm being lazy, to be honest. I didn't want to drive
but
into.
fingers crossed, because normally Anchor is very good anyway, so it should be fine.
Yeah. And as well, just before I get into this case, this has been kind of on my mind this week. We never really took the time at New Year to kind of say thank you to everyone that's kind of listened to us and supported us over the last 6 months, nearly 6 months.
Yeah, not far off
Yeah.
now. I think it'll be
So
6 months in February.
yeah, so I just wanted to kind of take a moment and just say thank you very much to everyone who has supported us, who's reached out and given us feedback, suggestions, things like that. Anyone who's left a comment or anyone who's left a review. We really do appreciate all the support that we've gotten. This is something that we just kind of decided to do on a whim one day, and we are both delighted with
And because it was a whim, it's the longest whim we've probably both maintained.
Yeah, but we are very happy and we are delighted with everyone, like the response that we've gotten and the fact that people seem to actually genuinely like it when we just sit down and chat shit for like for like half an hour to 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's
uh
like, there's a case, but there's also us going off on tangents and stuff.
yeah,
So
of course, it's, has to be done. So yeah, so thank you very much, guys. We appreciate you.
basically, yeah, Tanya covered it, and I'm just going to continue saying thanks at the end of every episode because I'm not feeling very sentimental today. Sorry about it.
Yeah, I was feeling sentimental. So this week's case is the case of Malcolm MacArthur. So Malcolm
Malcolm, I've
Daniel,
never heard of this, so I'm excited.
yeah. Well, not excited about the murder, but
Well,
interest. I mean, he's
no,
intrigued.
but
He's
intrigued, that is
intrigued.
a better word. I'm excited to be shocked, but I'm not excited for what this person has obviously done.
Exactly. So Malcolm Daniel Edward MacArthur was born on April 17th, 1945. He was born
Oh, we
into
going
a
back a bit.
we going back a bit. So he was born
Yeah.
into a wealthy farming family that had been Scottish settlers at Breamount, which was a 180-acre estate near Trim in County Meath. Malcolm was the only son of Daniel and Irene MacArthur, and he attended Christian Brothers School, the good old CBS boy.
We've all
Um,
been there. Well, I have
I
briefly.
haven't because I'm a girl.
Are you sure? I
But
thought I saw you in computer class.
look, that was one time, okay, one time.
Why were you
Um,
in the men's bathroom?
it was an experience. I hadn't experienced it. So later, Malcolm went on to study at several US colleges before he finally graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in 1967. Now,
Oh,
I have
so
no
in
clue.
US, as in he went to America for school.
Yeah, he went to America for college. Now, I have no idea what exactly he got his bachelor in, but
Okay,
he did get a Bachelor of Arts degree.
so
Now,
at least
after
he
this,
accomplished something.
yeah, true. So after this, he returned to Ireland, where he is described as being a quote, a well known eccentric character in Dublin social circles. Now, Malcolm's mother has claimed that his father was a violent man and that Malcolm once needed 5 stitches in his hand after being bitten by his father.
Like there is always like so many of the cases we cover, if not all of them so far. There's always been some sort of traumatic childhood story or like child
Always.
abuse or something like that.
And I do think, like, don't get me wrong, I know some people are born psychopaths and born
Yeah,
sociopaths.
there's born and made.
Exactly, but I really do think that like the amount of serial killers and murderers and criminals who have some form of trauma in their past. Sorry if you could hear my dog howling there. I'm down in the
Don't
bedroom.
worry, I didn't hear anything anyway.
She's up in the sitting room. She's not on her own. Justin is with her. She's fine. She's just dramatic. But
Mood.
she's just dramatic as fuck. But it
Me
is
when I don't get
interesting
my
to
way.
know the amount of criminals and killers and serial killers that have some sort of trauma their past, especially
Yeah.
in their childhood. So in conclusion, treat your children well.
I would also just like to add, for the sake of it, because I feel like it's not something that's said a lot in true crime stuff and podcasts. So I
Yeah.
feel like just even as a once off to mention. Obviously, there is also people out there who've been diagnosed with things such as, being like the actual diagnosis psychopath and, narcissist and, sociopath and all these different things that obviously a lot of the time we associate with criminals and bad people. But there's a lot of people out there as well with these diagnoses who try hard every day and they still be a good person and a normal person.
Exactly.
Just because you have
Exactly.
something like that doesn't
Doesn't
mean that
mean
you're
that you're
going
a
to be
bad
a
person.
killer or a bad person.
Exactly. Like, I know there is one lady on TikTok. I don't think I follow her. I think she's just come up on my FYP a few times. But she is a diagnosed psychopath, I'm sure. And she really seems to be kind of trying to bring awareness to
The
the
fact that there's
diagnosis
people there that
and
are
the fact that
normal.
there are people out there who are diagnosed as a psychopath or a sociopath who have no interest in being bad people or living that kind of lifestyle where you're hurting people, that are willing to work and try and put in the effort to, I suppose, meet society's expectations of what a normal, we'll say a quote unquote normal person should be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at my drinks bottle and I've noticed that my design is coming off, which is very upsetting because I've only got
Have you? Oh wait, has it been going in the dishwasher?
I've never, to be honest, I've not washed it since I got it, but no, it's not been in the dishwasher.
Well,
I think
that answers that.
I think maybe part of it is because the kids at work are obsessed with it because it's Winnie the Pooh, and I've caught a few of them with it in their hands. And it does look like it's been kind of scratched off a little bit, so I'm just gonna have to keep it up higher at work so they can't get at it. But anyway, back into the case. So as I said, he apparently once needed 5 stitches in his hand after being bitten by his father. Now, Malcolm's father passed away.
What a thing to do, to bite your child.
To bite your child. I know,
that's
my
feral
dad,
aggression.
My dad, when I was a kid, I was a biter. I was a biter, and I'm still a biter to this day. It's part of who I am. And
yeah, but there's a difference. When you were younger, that's a thing that sometimes children do.
No,
and
let me finish my story.
Well, what I was going to say is, and as an adult, sometimes it's just a kink.
Yeah. So I bit my dad once when I was a kid, and he bit me back, and I never bit anyone inside that house again. I was traumatized.
I mean, Razzle Dazzle taught the lesson that needed to be taught.
He did. Look, I learned what I needed to learn.
But on the same note, guys, don't bite your kids.
Yeah, that's not how I go about. To be fair, none of the kids that I work with currently have an issue with biting, but that's not how I would go about it if they were biting.
I think I used to bite when I was a child as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I just find it something I still do. Not even biting people necessarily, but I'm constantly.
I like how you say necessarily, as in sometimes I run up and chomp on someone's face, but most of the time I don't.
I'm pretty sure I bit you 2 weeks ago.
Did you?
I think so. I think I just caught your hand and I just went.
Trauma block.
But anyway, so Malcolm's father ended up passing away in 1974, and this is when Malcolm inherited £70,000. Which.
And what year? When was this? Did you?
1974. So that was about.
So that'd be worth a lot more now.
Yeah. So now I'm terrible at maths, so I don't know if I got the figures for 1974 correct, but if I did, we'll say somehow managed to get them correct, that would have been about €79,564 €79,564 I think at the time, and in today's economy that's roughly excuse me, €792,533.17.
So it's closer to 1 million really than it is even 500,000 almost.
Yeah.
That's
wow. It's reported that MacArthur never worked, as he lived off of his inheritance, which had been made from selling the family farm.
I would do the same. I would do my own
I do not. Josh is I do not disagree with that.
Okay, I'm probably about to disagree with every other life choice you've made, but up at this point, I'm with you.
So that money had been made from selling the 180-acre farm that the family had. Now, despite
Chunky.
never working, MacArthur was regarded as an eccentric intellectual type of person. And in May
You know, I do
1982,
always notice though, like, not I'm not like, you know, like a lot of people that don't seem to like feel like comfortable in like school and work environments always tend to be people who are really smart. Not the people
yeah,
who like school and like work environments. There's loads of really smart people there too. But like,
yeah, but
it's
I know
just
what you mean.
interesting to see that there's so many people who don't, you know, go
Yeah,
with society norms of working and education, and they're still above average IQ and things like that.
yeah. Like, now I will say what I have noticed in terms of what you just said there. In terms of, we'll say, people who don't feel comfortable in school, or who don't tend to like enjoy school or excel at school, but are still regarded as very intellectual. Um, in my opinion, what I've kind of noticed is those people tend to have a higher IQ, and it's what it is that school isn't stimulating enough for them. Whereas it might be stimulating to your peers who are intelligent, but they might have, we'll say, a lower IQ. So it kind of matches their level of intelligence. So, like, we'll say, I would have been quite advanced in reading as a child. Like, when I was in,
Yeah, the two of us were like
we were,
fucking,
yeah.
we were
So like when
sluts
I
for a
was,
good book.
we were absolute book whores. But we'll say when I was in senior infants, I was reading at a second class level. So I was reading, my level of reading was 3 years ahead of the others in my age group.
I'm not one bit surprised.
But then obviously everyone caught up to me,
No,
and
well,
that's
obviously, no
when I started
offense
to
to everyone
struggle.
else that was in your class, but I'm not surprised at that
Yeah.
earlier point.
But then eventually my peers' reading levels caught up to me, and that's when I started to struggle in school, because I was still quite advanced with the reading, and by the time they had kind of caught up to me, I had already covered that material. So I remember I used to take Gavin's school books out of his bag when I was a kid, because
Because he'd be ahead.
he was ahead, and I had already read every inch of my English books, like cover to cover. Every book that was in the house had been read cover to cover. I used to read newspapers for entertainment as a kid, because I had nothing else to read. But by the
Imagine,
time
and now
I
the
got
only time
to,
we look at a newspaper is for research.
yeah, but then we'll say by the time I got to second or third class, because I had already read that material, I was bored, and that's where I was struggling, because it wasn't able to keep my attention, and it wasn't able to keep my focus, because I was already too familiar with it. So even though my peers had caught up to me, I was still understimulated in the classroom.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I never hear here of like, I know I'm good, like obviously gone off topic, but I never hear of people like skipping years here, whereas it seems to be something
No.
that does
And the
happen
thing
in
is,
like America.
it's not even that I needed to skip a year. Like, just to clarify, I'm not like highly intelligent or anything. I have a basic level of intelligence. I was just highly intelligent when it came to reading specifically. Um, but like, it wasn't that I needed to be a couple of years ahead of my classmates or anything. I probably should have been in like some kind of advanced placement for English. But we don't have something like that here until you get to secondary
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, there you go. That's a little bit of background history on me.
Um,
Um,
yeah, I think, and I actually don't know. I can't remember what I was like for like, you know, in terms of if I was ahead in terms of reading and stuff, but I know I used to obviously read a lot. Whether I would have been ahead or not, I don't know. But I know from my
yeah,
assessment that I have an above average IQ. Not majorly, I'm not bragging because it's only like literally a fucking fraction of an inch above.
yeah. See, I've never had my IQ tested, but I just don't think I'm.
Did you not get it done in the thing?
No, I got tested for. So I got assessed for ADHD, autism, BPD, and dyscalculia and dyslexia. Obviously, I don't have dyslexia, but I do have dyscalculia, which, if you're unfamiliar, is similar to dyslexia, but it's with numbers, so with maths. So I have like a learning disability in maths.
Yeah, because
Um,
like I'm surprised yours didn't come up, or maybe because it should have been on the thing. Because like, well, obviously I got tested for the BPD, and that's when I found out. It was calculated through my
oh,
that assessment.
um, I'm not going to look into it now because I'll get sidetracked and distracted.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I'll look
yeah.
into it after. I'll
It's
look into
something
it
to
after
check
this,
out after. Yeah,
because
it'd
I
be
know I do
interesting.
have my report, I'm sure, in my emails.
Yeah,
That
I'm
should
gonna have another look
me.
at mine later, actually.
Hang on, let me get it up so I remember to.
It's like
It's in
side
there.
note.
It's in there somewhere. So back to the case.
Yes.
In May 1982, Malcolm took his partner, who was a woman named Brenda Little, and their son, who was called Colin Malcolm, on a holiday to the Canary Islands. Now, after 6 weeks there, his inheritance ran out.
Stop the lights.
Nearly £1 million in today's money. And it lasted him. So he got it in 1974, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79.
8 years?
81, 82. 8 years. Lasted him 8 years. Because he wasn't working. He wasn't trying to supplement that income. He wasn't investing it or doing anything.
Yeah, like he was obviously clearly, still, living like a relatively luxurious life
Living
with that
large.
money. But like,
Yeah.
whereas if he'd lived like a normal person, that money could have probably lasted him donkey's years. But he was like, no, I'm going to be extra. I'm not going to lie though. I would probably do the same, but I wouldn't leave my job.
Yeah, it's like he would probably still be spending that money today, if not for the fact that he was so reckless with it.
I just live my life to the max between work shifts.
Between work shifts, yeah. So then Malcolm decided to head back to Ireland alone, but he told Brenda that he would be back, and he told her that he was going to Switzerland. Now, he was back in, I'm going to Switzerland, and off he pops back to Dublin.
Looks like a beautiful country though, but I wouldn't say I'm going to Switzerland and then go to fucking Dublin. Sorry, but no.
So he was back in Dublin by July 8th with a plan to get more money already in place. He was going to rob a bank. And his first step, big dreams. And his first step was to steal a car. And so that's what he set out to do. So on July 22nd.
Here's that eccentricness.
Yep. On July 22nd, 1982, a gardener by the name of Paddy Byrne was walking home through Phoenix Park in Dublin. It was a beautiful sunny day and the park was full of people enjoying the fine weather. But one person in particular caught Paddy's eye due to his strange behaviour. He said of the man, quote, "I saw this fella and he was acting very strangely. He was jumping from one tree to the other and he was wearing a hat. He was a well-dressed man, cravat and all, jumping from tree to tree."
It's Curious George's owner.
It's honestly, Josh, the man had a cravat on. A cravat.
What's that?
So it's like, I'm trying to think of a character that wears one. Fred from Scooby-Doo. You know how he wears like the white sweater with the blue shirt and the orange? That's a cravat.
Oh, the neck thing is a cravat. Okay, there we go.
Cravat. He was dressed like Fred from Scooby-Doo. I can't remember Fred's surname right now, but sure, look, it's fine. So the strange man was Malcolm MacArthur, and according to Paddy, he seemed very interested in a particular grey car. He passed by it, did a turnabout, and passed it again. And it struck Paddy as odd, so he watched him. Now, 27-year-old nurse Bridie Gargan owned this car, and she had just finished work. She was heading home. She was heading home when she decided to stop for some fresh air. As MacArthur approached her, Bridie went to stand up, only to be viciously attacked by Malcolm. Now, Paddy initially believed it, the gardener initially believed it to be a dispute between a couple. So he tried to intervene. He jumped over a wall and ran straight for the car where MacArthur was now beating Bridie in the back seat with a lump hammer. A fucking lump hammer.
What's a lump hammer?
A lump hammer is, it kind of looks like a rough sledgehammer.
Oh God. That's vicious.
Vicious, absolutely vicious. And like, I dropped a lump hammer on my toes when I was like 3 or 4, and it has the pain.
She's still waiting for her toe to grow back, guys.
Years. So a lump hammer is like a small sledgehammer. Okay. With like the square block on the end. So MacArthur must have heard Paddy Byrne coming, and in a desperate attempt to conceal his crime, he covered Bridie's body with newspapers. So when Paddy reached the car and banged on the window, Malcolm was calmly reading a newspaper in the back seat of the car. Paddy demanded to know what was going on and was told it was nothing and to get lost. When he reached to open the door, MacArthur jumped out with a gun and said, quote, "Back off or I'll put a bullet in you." So Paddy and MacArthur struggled, and Paddy ended up shoved into a ditch. So before MacArthur managed to take off in Bridie's car, Paddy saw her attempt to sit up and say something. And now he says she was badly beaten and extremely bloodied. I didn't take the direct quote, but I'm pretty sure in the direct quote he said it looked like someone had thrown a can of tomatoes over her.
Fucking hell. And she was obviously still in the car at this point.
She was still in the back of the car. She was
Yeah.
semi-conscious. It's kind of thought that she had heard Paddy and Malcolm fighting, and she was trying to ask Paddy for help.
Yeah.
But obviously MacArthur managed to drive off
With her still in the car.
Still in the car.
Fuck.
So as MacArthur was driving, an ambulance came across him, and seeing the blood in the back of the car as well as a hospital sticker, because remember this is Bridie's car and she was a nurse, they assumed that it was a doctor trying to get a patient to the hospital. So they shouted for him to follow them and said that they would put on their blue lights. So he did follow them for a short time, but as soon as the ambulance turned into the grounds of St. James's Hospital near Kilmainham, MacArthur turned around and drove off. So Paddy Byrne...
The ambulance drivers must have been like, what the fuck is going on?
They must have been so confused. 1 second, I'm just readjusting. So Paddy MacArthur then tried to flag someone down, and eventually he managed to flag down, I believe it was one of his co-workers. And they went out looking for Bridie's car. So after about half an hour, they returned to Phoenix Park, which was now swarmed with guards. The scene was cordoned off, and as the only witness who actually saw what had happened, because the park was full of people, but Paddy Byrne was the only one who had really seen what had actually taken place.
Yeah, because he was keeping an eye on this strange dude.
Yeah. So because he was the only witness who actually saw what had happened, Paddy was questioned immediately. Gardaí took fingerprints from Paddy as well, because they were so keen to find Bridie and to get to the bottom of things. Now, Bridie was found a few hours later. She was either thrown down in a laneway or in the back seat of her car, which had been abandoned in Rialto. And after being rushed to hospital, she fought
Rialto
for 4
sounds like
days.
a very fancy name for Dublin.
It does. So she was rushed to hospital. She fought for her life for 4 days, but she did ultimately pass away from her injuries.
Poor woman.
Now, after abandoning Bridie, MacArthur went into a travel shop on the South Circular Road so that he could check bus times to Finglas. His partner Brenda was from there and he knew the area well. But now some of the sources do differ, so if I'm saying either of these things happened, that's why. So either just before he went to Finglas or when he stopped in Finglas, he went into a pub where he shaved off his beard in an attempt to conceal his identity. And 2 days later, he was travelling to Edenderry in Offaly, where he had plans to purchase a gun, because as police would come to find out later, the gun that he had used to threaten Paddy Byrne was only a replica.
Okay, so it wasn't actually going to fire.
Yeah, but obviously because it's a replica, it looks quite realistic. So Paddy was absolutely right to be in fear for his life and to protect his own life. Now, in saying that, he did try to fight this man off, and he did do everything he could to try and help Bridie.
Yeah.
So the reason that Malcolm had chosen Edenderry was because he had seen an ad in a newspaper advertising a shotgun for sale by one Donald Dunn. So he hopped on a bus and he arrived in Edenderry on Saturday, July 24th, 1982. It was actually the day before Offaly were due to play Kilkenny in the Leinster Senior Hurling Championship final in Croke Park, I'll have you know. So MacArthur spent the night at the harbour, and the next morning he went to a local shop where he bought a carton of milk and the Sunday Independent. How very Irish of him.
Yeah, standard.
Carton of milk and Sunday paper. There was an article about Bridie Gargan in this copy of the Sunday Independent as well. Now, this morning, which was the Sunday, just to be clear, was the morning that he had arranged to meet 27-year-old Donald Dunn to buy his shotgun. The two men met at around 10:30 a.m. outside the post office in the centre of the town. Donald drove them to a bog that was between Edenderry and Rathangan, so MacArthur could, quote, test the gun safely. As soon as Donald handed MacArthur the gun to test it, MacArthur
We know where
turned
this is going.
around and shot
There
him
we
from a
go.
distance of 3 yards away, giving the unsuspecting and defenseless Donald no chance to protect himself. MacArthur then half-arsed the job of hiding Donald's body in some brambles before stealing the car and fleeing the scene. Now, Donald's body would be found a few days later by a 7-year-old boy who was out having a picnic with his family. He had seen a blood trail, followed the blood trail, and found Donald's body in the brambles.
Yeah, natural child curiosity.
Yeah. So Gardaí were notified immediately, and an investigation was launched with 300 rookie officers searching the boglands for the murder weapon at one point. Donald's car was later found near the Central Bank on Dame Lane in Dublin. At this point in time, Gardaí had become intrigued by the similarities in descriptions of the man who had killed both Bridie Gargan and Donald Dunn. When investigators in Edenderry began tracing Donald Dunn's last known movements, and witnesses came forward to describe a man wearing horn-rimmed glasses, a tweed overcoat, peaked hat, and dark pants, there could be no denying the similarities to the description Paddy Byrne gave of Bridie's killer. Sorry, I'm running low on breath.
Oxygen depleting. Please restart.
Yeah. So, additionally, the man's accent had been taken note of by both the locals in Offaly and the office worker he had asked about bus times in Dublin. Now, his accent was described as, quote, cut glass and cultured. So,
okay.
I think that just means he didn't have like a rough Dublin accent. He had like a more kind of posh, kind of like how there's like different Cork accents, so you have like
and as well he was described as being like eccentric, and when he did have all that money was trying to live this lush life, then he probably was having some sort of a less a more polished accent.
Yeah, he would have
to
had
fit
a
in
more...
with who he was trying to be, at least.
Oh, actually, sorry, in the newspapers around the time of this, he was referred to. One headline that I saw called him a posh dandy.
Dandy, why is that? Oh, Dandy.
Yeah, Dandy from American Horror Story. But yeah, called him a posh dandy.
Wait, from American Horror Story? I'm thinking of the cartoon.
What cartoon?
Cartoon, Dandy.
Never heard of it.
I think that's a thing anyway.
I was thinking of American Horror Story Freak Show.
Well, I'm just thinking Freak Show wouldn't have been out then.
Well, no, but like it just reminds me of the character from American Horror Story Freak Show. His name was Dandy, and he was a murderer.
Oh, Dandy was the psycho dude. I think
he was the psycho, the rich kid,
the eccentric dude.
The eccentric dude who wanted to buy the carnival people. But anyway, he didn't want to buy them. He wanted Dot and Betty. Was that their names?
Oh. Correction, I cannot find anything to do with a cartoon called Dandy. A dandy is a man who places particular importance upon physical appearance and personal grooming, refined language and leisurely hobbies, every activity pursued with apparent nonchalance.
So basically Malcolm MacArthur, he's a dandy.
Yeah.
So so they had kind of taken note.
Oh, there is a cartoon.
Oh, is there?
But anyway, go on, sorry, I was just curious as to what dandy meant.
So as well as all of this evidence that was kind of adding up, a fingerprint was found on the discarded copy of the Sunday Independent because people had seen him at the harbour and at this shop reading the newspaper.
Now, suck on that, you cunt.
So they found his fingerprint on his copy of the Sunday Independent and were able to match it to fingerprints found on polythene wrapping left on a shovel at the Bridie Gargan scene. Now, while the link was undeniable, Gardaí were still no closer to finding the identity of their suspect, so they continued tracing steps and following leads in both Offaly and Dublin. So now we're on August 4th, 1982, and it's time for the final installment of MacArthur's plan, right?
The bank.
No.
Oh.
He brings himself and his stolen shotgun to the home of US diplomat Henry Bailing in Killiney. Yeah, Killiney.
I'm just so like, what the fuck? We went from I'm going to rob a bank to I'm going to steal a car beat someone so that they'd end up dying, and now I'm going to the house of a US diplomat with a gun instead of just using the gun in the car to do the bank robbery.
Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out if I'm pronouncing this. No, sorry, I think it's actually Killaney or Killiney. Hang on. 1 second.
Has to be one of those three anyway, pronunciations.
It's Killiney. I was saying Killiney and I was like, that doesn't seem right. So in Killiney. Now, he somehow charms Henry into letting him in, convincing him that he had been
And
in
this
attendance.
is the diplomat.
This is the diplomat. So he convinced Henry that he had been in attendance at parties that had been thrown at the house in the past, and that all he wanted was to take some photos of the bay from one of the windows. Now, Henry, for some bizarre reason, was like, oh yeah, no hassle, kid, come on in. At which point MacArthur whips out the gun and is like, yeah, bitch, this is actually a robbery. So Henry offers to go to another room to get his checkbook, and this is when he's able to escape from MacArthur. So Malcolm does the wise thing and flees the scene. Now, where does he go to hide?
I love how he didn't follow him when he was going to get the checkbook to make sure he actually got the checkbook. And also, do you think when you walk into a bank to cash it, it's not going to have been reported?
Exactly.
Unless he was going to kill him when he got the check. I don't know.
So, do you want to know where Malcolm MacArthur went to hide?
His home.
Sure, where else would he go but to the house of one Paddy Connolly, aka the Attorney General at the time.
No.
He hid out in the Attorney General's house, Josh.
I mean, I know nobody knew who he was, but like the dude the diplomat that he just tried to like fucking rob is surely going to be able to identify him, you know, or give a good description, leading to the Attorney General being like,
Oh no, Josh, it gets worse. It gets worse, right? So as I said, Paddy Connolly was the Attorney General at this time, in 1982. And Connolly, he knew both MacArthur and his partner Brenda Little, and like Malcolm basically told him that he had just come back from Switzerland and he needed somewhere to stay. So the Attorney General offered up his spare room, obviously not knowing what had been going on with Malcolm.
because he was supposedly in Switzerland, not different parts of Dublin and Ireland.
Exactly. Now, this is where the net starts to close in on MacArthur, because the thick cunt rings the Dalkey Garda station and goes, here, you know that attempted robbery at Henry Bailing's house? Yeah, that was just a prank. Don't worry about it.
Is he slow?
He fucking must be, right? So then the Garda who took that phone call obviously found it suspicious, and he said that he could hear classical music playing in the background. And when he asked for the caller's name, what did MacArthur do?
Gave his name.
He gave his full name and even mentioned that he had been born on Gardiner Street, apparently.
What in the name of God?
I swear to God, I was reading it as I was researching and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, how
I just lost my life there for a second.
So, despite this little revelation, door-to-door inquiries yielded no further information until a gut instinct led Detective Mick Sullivan to phone the detectives who were investigating the murders of Bridie and Donal to inform them that they had had a, quote, this is a direct quote, unusual aggravated robbery here, and the more I think about it, the more I think the fella that did it is your man. Now, this was largely due to the description given by Henry Bailing of
Called it.
Yeah, so he gave a description of a well-dressed and well-spoken assailant. Now, around the same time, a newspaper seller in Dunleary came forward saying that a reconstruction of Bridie Gargan's killer had jogged his memory of a strange customer wearing a tweed hat, beige jumper and glasses. Now, the jumper had shoulder patches and matched a jumper that was discarded by the killer in a garden as he fled the scene where he had left Bridie Gargan. A motorist then came forward to say that he had picked up a hitchhiker wearing a cravat in Killiney the day of the Henry Bailing attempted robbery, and that he had brought the man to Pilot View in Dalkey. Now, this was a new lead for Gardaí, and so detectives Tony Hickey and Kevin Tunney drove out to Pilot View in search of additional leads. They brought a folder of photo fits of their suspect with them, and the description at this point in the investigation was of a cravat-wearing, wavy-haired man who was sophisticated and soft-spoken. One resident said it sounded quite like the Attorney General's nephew who was currently staying with him. Now, I don't actually think there was any blood relation between MacArthur and Connolly, but I think maybe the neighbours just assumed that it was his nephew that was staying
Just
with him.
general Irish idle gossip, basically.
Yeah, so like, oh, must be sure there's no young fella staying in there with Paddy Connolly. Is it his nephew? It must be his nephew.
And then the next person to tell the story says, "Oh, do you know his nephew's staying with him?"
Yeah, no, that's his nephew. His nephew, I think his name is Malcolm. Now, the next day, when detectives arrived at Pilot View, they were lucky enough to run into a taxi driver who was actually on his way to deliver hacksaw blades and Perrier well water to a well-spoken gentleman in one of the apartments. Perrier well water, Josh.
That's random.
Now, fancy. He's not drinking the tap water. He wants the Perrier well water. So, I'm so caught for breath tonight. I don't know what's going on with me. I've not even been smoking my vape. How unusual. So Gardaí suspected that the hacksaw blades would be used to saw off the barrels of Donald Dunn's shotgun, and they were certain that they had the right person and the right place. They were sure that they had seen the silhouette of their killer at the penthouse window, and so they proceeded to raid the gaff. Now, Attorney General Connolly, who had been busy getting ready for a holiday in the US, was shocked and, quote, ashen-faced. He was pale as a ghost when he opened his front door to find 12 armed officers. Now, they entered the home and they swiftly arrested MacArthur. He offered no resistance, and I've lost my place. Hold on. Bear with.
I feel like that all the time.
So, he offered no resistance and he was taken silently in a guard car to Dunleary. Police found Donald Dunn's shotgun inside the apartment. MacArthur was questioned at Dunleary Station, where he gave a 21-page statement.
Oh
21 pages. Fiha hain. 21 pages.
21.
Yeah, so his 21-page statement began with the following, quote, I affirm that I am responsible for the deaths of Nurse Bridie Gargan and Mr. Donald Dunn, end quote. Gardaí described his manner during this time as condescending, calm, and non-committal, saying he showed no remorse for his actions and that he was, quote, all chat in the squad car as he was transported to Mountjoy Prison. Now, the fingerprints found on the shovel and the newspaper were determined to be a match to MacArthur, and that, coupled with his confession, sealed his fate. Now, this next part, I'm going to try to explain it as best as I can, but I'm not good with Latin or legal terminology, so bear with. Now, because Malcolm MacArthur had confessed to the murder of Bridie, the state entered a plea of nolle prosequi. This can be abbreviated to nolle or nolle pros, and is legal Latin, meaning, quote, to be unwilling to pursue. It is a type of prosecutorial discretion in common law used for prosecutors' declarations that they are voluntarily ending a criminal case before trial or before a verdict is rendered. It is a kind of motion to dismiss and contrasts with an involuntary dismissal. So basically, from what I understand, that means that because he had already confessed to the murder of Bridie Gargan and she was the first victim.
And the evidence was there as well, then a trial isn't really needed, is it?
No, they decided to only pursue charges for Bridie's murder and not for Donald's.
Oh.
So there was no real
That's
justice
not very
for
fair.
Donald Dunn. No, it's not. Like, there was no real justice for Donald Dunn. The articles that I read basically just said that the reasons for them not pursuing Donald's charges were quite complex. This is all that I could find on it, is what I just read out there. Doesn't seem that complex to me. I don't see why they couldn't have charged him with both murders. It makes no sense to me, and I think it's honestly quite cruel that
it
Donald's
sounds like,
family...
okay, fair enough, maybe there was better reasons, but off the cuff, it just sounds like laziness to me.
Yeah. So despite a petition which reached 10,000 signatures by the public who disagreed with this, Malcolm MacArthur was not prosecuted or charged with the murder of Donald Dunn.
What a joke.
Honestly. Now, during this time, Paddy Connolly, you know, the Attorney General who had hosted our killer,
Yes.
right? He decided, do you know what now? I'm going on my fucking holiday. And off he went to the US.
Right too.
Right? Now this
You'd want to break after that.
This caused absolute war in the media and the public. So the Taoiseach at the time, Charlie Haughey, had to ring him and be like, get your arse home now. And also you're relieved of your duties as Attorney General, by the way. So this actually ended up costing Paddy Connolly his job. And
am I the only one that doesn't see the big deal?
Well, I think
unless you're needed, like as a witness, or unless you're needed.
I think the media were looking at it and the public was looking at it as, well, right, this man killed 2 people and he stayed in your house for however long, we'll say a week or 2. And you could be a crucial witness. So just because you're an Attorney General doesn't excuse you from your responsibilities to the court or whatever.
Yeah, but I'm assuming if he was called back, he'd have been there straight away. Do you know what I mean? You have to be summoned to court, don't you?
Yeah, but the thing is, he took off basically, I think, as soon as MacArthur was arrested. Like, he didn't wait around to find out what the story was or anything. So I think it was just seen as a very a callous decision by the public, I suppose.
Not thought through.
Yeah, like not really well thought out. And as well, the fact that he went to New York instead of waiting around to see was he needed for the case or was there anything he could do to help or anything like that. It was just seen as very selfish. So then Charlie Haughey had to ring him and be like,
oh yeah, you see, I forget the time frame as well of when this was, because I'm like, the man could just attend through a Skype call, but not back then.
No, not in the 80s. So Charlie Haughey, the Taoiseach at the time, would go on to describe the events that had unfolded as, quote, grotesque, unbelievable, bizarre, and unprecedented, which became known by the acronym GUBU. Apparently this was a big thing in politics back then, but I don't know because I wasn't born yet. But it was like basically like a meme before there was memes.
And you said, oh, I get you.
Like GUBU.
So like that was the Taoiseach that said that, is it?
Yeah.
So the Taoiseach can say about how grotesque the whole situation is and everything, but yet the state won't prosecute for the death of the other person. Okay.
Honestly, ridiculous. Like, so I'm about to finish up. Just a couple more lines on him being sentenced and things. But yeah, the GUBU thing. Murder Most Irish have covered this case as well, and I think they kind of have a better explanation of GUBU and how it was culturally and politically used at the time. I just don't know myself. I couldn't make heads nor tails of it. I suppose I wasn't born until 1997. It was not really a thing during my childhood.
We're sticking to the crime instead of the extras.
Whereas I'm pretty sure the girls from Murder Most Irish, I don't think they were born at the time, or else they were very, very young at the time, but I know they have mentioned a bit more about it. They seemed to have a better understanding of it than I do. Now, in January 1983, Malcolm MacArthur was jailed for life. He served most of his sentence in Mountjoy Prison and spent some time in Arbor Hill also. And he finished serving his sentence in an open prison called Shelton Abbey. In 2012, Malcolm MacArthur was released after serving 30 years.
See, what I don't understand is why life sentences in like Ireland anyway never seem to actually be life.
Never. Like, he served 30 years of a life sentence for the murder of Bridie Gargan. So he was 66 at the age of his release, which means he was 36 at the time of the crimes. He killed 2 27-year-olds, was only charged for 1, and he would now be 77, I think.
Yeah, because like if they gave him 2 life sentences, because if they charged him with the second one, he'd have been in there until his 90s.
Exactly.
Roughly.
And
maybe 80s.
Personally, sorry, I just Sorry, I was just trying to find my PDF in my email, and I clicked into a spam email from Han Talep with no subject. Of we proof connected it, mankind not with that depravity had that all the pardoning of, and this applauded was, and then some emojis, and then some numbers, and then
What
there's a
in the name
PDF
of
that I'm not
God
going into.
even is that?
Honestly, mad shit, mad shit.
I don't think they know. I think they might be using Google Translate.
Oh, there's a new scam going around at the moment, actually, which is to do with An Post. Basically you get a text saying An Post has a package for you, but the text
There's
is
Amazon
in Irish.
ones and UPS ones and everything going around.
Yeah, but it was just the fact that it was Oswalga, like it was fully in Irish. So obviously what they do is they translate their scams into whatever language is used in that country, but they obviously don't realise that not many people in Ireland are actually fluent in Irish.
Yeah, like as in those texts come out in English, thanks.
Yeah, but thought that was interesting. Hang on, I'm just going to go into my PDF and see if it does say anything about my IQ.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Sorry, I've just noticed Tanya mentions that, quote, completing the day drains her. It does. It fucking does.
On a soul level.
So how do you find out your IQ?
I can't remember because I don't know it was in my report because she told me there and then off of the, do you know the thing where I'm assuming you did the same as me for that part, as in where you have to, make the shapes and answer the questions and stuff.
Yeah,
It
I have it here.
was on that piece of paper.
It's Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Adults.
Like
oh, hold on. I have high average verbal comprehension, and then I have an average perceptual reasoning, and then
I'm trying to find mine now as well out of curiosity, because I haven't
average
looked at
working
it
memory
ever.
index, and I have average processing speed.
I did have hear someone use the word processing speed. I'm like, girl, you a computer.
I'm a computer. It says I have average intellectual functioning when compared to the test standardization
sample. Out where mine is. Let's see. Did I save it? It's definitely here somewhere. Shit, wrong button. I'm like, where the fuck is that? I got it.
So I was looking at where did it go again? Jesus Christ. It's like the full scale intelligence quotient.
Is that the heading title?
Yeah. It should be under your processing speed.
Processing speed.
Are you going to cut this part out?
I wasn't going to.
Okay, fair enough. So all the listeners get to hear about our
I can.
PDF. No, it's great. Doesn't bother me.
I'm like, oh yeah. And how do I? There we go.
Like it'll say. So like the results obtained from the application of the WACE IV point to average intellectual functioning when compared to the test standardization sample.
Mine says general intellectual functioning.
Oh, I have average.
In average when compared to the test. So like mine is, what's my processing speed? 97.
Fun fact. Your processing speed, what's mine? My processing speed Is that like the one in black? Processing speed index, percentile, or
Um,
confidence interval?
it's just above it. Yeah, it says PSI equals.
Oh, mine is 102.
Very good. We're both in the confidence
But
section,
here,
I believe.
do you want to know a fun fact?
Go on.
Right. So, in terms of math concepts and applications, math computation, composite, and math fluency, right? So for composite, there's nothing there. But math concepts and applications, my age equivalent is 9 years and 10 months. My math computation is 9 years and 1 month, and my math fluency is 10 year and 10 months. So what that basically means is my maths level is the same as a 9 and 10-year-old.
That is crazy. I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, I'm 25 years old and I can't like, and the thing is, I know from working with after schoolers that will say the after schoolers that I had would have ranged in age from junior infants to 6th class. And I have noticed with years that as soon as I got to 3rd class maths, that's when I would start to struggle, and anything above that, I would have to bring in outside help. So that's interesting. I've not actually read this properly before.
I think I did briefly, like when I got it at first, but since then I don't think I have gone through it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
there you go, guys.
That's our little tangent at the end of that on about intelligence.
And don't forget, completing the day is draining.
Exactly.
Although I would say I don't find it as draining as I did at the time of my assessment.
Who did I say it to? And I said, this has nothing to do with that. But when you said about the day is draining thing, I was like, that'd be good on a t-shirt. But I was also thinking then, I was like, who did I say something to the other? My cousin on the phone last night. I said to her, we were talking, and I don't know, did I say Jesus or something, or did she say Jesus? I think I said something like, oh, Jesus. And she was like, I need that. And then she was on about, like, you know, something else, but she was like, not Jesus. I need the thing we were on about before that. And I was like, girl, Jesus needs us. Religion is dying.
He does need us, but he can't have us.
No, I'm okay with my my spirituality vibe. Don't put in or out with Jesus.
I love how this has gone from us being on like a chaotic tangent to this is now a FaceTime. Like we're not even.
Yeah, this is basically just a general conversation that we're including our listeners
this is a phone. Welcome to the phone call, guys. But Josh, we need to finish sorting the design for those hoodies as well. I just thought of it there.
Oh yeah, we need to do that photo thing and see how it turns out.
Yes. Oh, I have the one that we took today. Actually, I could try that.
That could work. But I was also thinking, you know, like the setup with the microphones and everything as well.
Oh yes, that's what we wanted to do. Yeah, we'll sort it anyway. So yeah, me and Josh are going getting ourselves hoodies, guys. We're very, very excited about this. With the Twisted Talk.
Twisted Talks, Twisted Hoodies for Twisted People.
Yes. Yep, that's about right.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be our little slogan if we ever do merch. Twisted merch for twisted bitches.
Oh my God, no. Do you know what I want? Twisted merch for twisted twats.
Don't call our listeners twats. That's so
rude. I was more so referring to the two of us.
Yeah, but that's not
on our hoodies, not on the ones.
You're gonna hurt their feelings, Josh. They're not gonna listen to us anymore.
Oh my God! Okay, no, sorry.
I'm
going. No, I was just about to say. Oh my God! If we wanted to roll on with insults, we could be like, you know, how everyone has, like, you know, like, let's say Lady Gaga's followers are her little monsters.
Yeah.
We could have our twisted twatlings. It makes it sound so cute with the word lings with the lings on the end of it. It's like how I don't call baby sheep lamb. I call them sheeplings.
Sheeplings. Or twisted sheeplings.
Twisted sheeplings.
Twisted twatlings.
Twisted twatling. Obviously, we're not doing that, guys. And none of you are twats. Unless they don't like you, then maybe you're a little bit of one. But I don't know.
So yeah. Look at that. And to think, right? And me and Josh were like, well, I was stressing because Josh's last case was like just over 2,000 words. And I think we just about hit half an hour on that.
Yeah,
So
whereas I did a lot of questions at the start as well.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. Whereas this one, I really thought that I wasn't going to get much on it, but I managed to pull some articles from the depths of the internet that were really helpful. So we managed to get a good bit. And it's, look at that, an hour. We're coming up on an hour. Like, we do have to cut out the first 4 minutes because we said some things that can't go on air.
Did we? I
Maybe
don't think we said anything too bad. I think it was just like more so
hold
planning
on
and plotting.
before you say anything, because I know you could let something slip, but there was something that I was talking about that can't be said on air because I'll get in trouble.
You're gonna have to tell me afterwards because I don't remember.
Yeah, it's nothing bad. I didn't like use a bad word or call anyone a bad name. It was just the topic itself. It's not something that I can talk about on air without getting in trouble.
Oh, I think I know what it is.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to cut that out.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing at all. It's just something that can't be mentioned for certain reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm
now I'm panicking because I'm gonna lose my job. Sorry, I don't know why that popped into my head.
I love how you went with that, and I was thinking I don't normally get nervous, but I'm starting to get a little bit shaky. And then while that was going on, there was like a background sound behind that noise in my head going, I'm claustrophobic, Darren.
I'm claustrophobic, Darren.
The end of this episode is such a mess.
Yeah, as always.
We're really doing
it's on brand.
It's a case and a chat.
Yeah, it's just on brand for us. I do feel like since we started recording in the car, like when we used to record at your kitchen table, we were so professional, and then as soon as we started recording in the car, it all went to hell. It just became.
I think it's just because though any of the recording in the kitchen was for the most part was like early days.
Yeah.
And I feel like then now we've just got so much more comfortable in general anyway with what we come out with and the tangents we go on that we're just like, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, there's some things that I probably shouldn't be talking about on the podcast, but like it's out there now, so.
Yeah, everyone's like, my name, not my story. And I'm like, yeah, well, unfortunately, I'm an open book that doesn't shut the fuck up. So I feel like a lot of people know my story.
So you know everything.
Ew, post-COVID cough. No, it's probably the vape.
Nice. Look, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, so let's tie it up, guys. Thank you for listening to the case, and if you've made it this far, thank you for also to listening to the chaos and the chats and the bands. What?
I've decided. Sorry, this has just come to my head, and I want it on record. If we ever make a Patreon, I want it to be called Twisted Talks, and then what are the two dots called? The two not ampersand. That's an and symbol.
What, like this colon?
Colon. Thank you. So Twisted Talks, colon, cases and chaos.
Even just chaos.
Yeah, this is chaos. Well, yeah.
Because especially if it's a Patreon, because like I was thinking, I'm just going to let people in on this. So fuck up. If we get to the stage of Patreon, like as well as doing exclusive giant cases in there, we can do ones like where you cover case and I'm listening, but we could also do ones like if there's really short ones we like where we just record them ourselves.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like a mini-sode on our own when we free time or whatever, and
yeah,
so yeah. Ow, sorry, lip piercing.
Oof, Josh's gone mad for the piercings, lads. It's lovely.
Yes, in the last like literally 2-week period, if even, I've got my nostril pierced, I got my septum pierced, I got my eyebrow pierced, and I got my lip pierced. Shout out to Allura Aesthetics. We love Chloe.
And the thing is, me and Josh both got our noses pierced together back in November, and then Josh's nose piercing disappeared on a night out, as these things do. So then he went and got his. So then he went and got his nose and his septum pierced, and then he Snapchatted me the other day and was like, "I got my eyebrow and my lip pierced too."
Oh, actually, wait, it was so funny. Do you know when I went in to get my nose done again?
Yeah.
I said it to Chloe, and obviously she asked, how yours was getting, and I was like, no, Tanya's is good. She managed to keep hers in and whatnot. And Chloe was like, yeah, she understood the assignment. I was like, yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I did understand the assignment, Chloe. I took your directions very seriously.
I took them seriously until every sort of drink underneath the sun was. We won't even talk about the rest of the stuff I did that night because I'm just not comfortable with saying that on air. I don't need everyone to know that, just the people that already know. And if you're listening and I hope you're having a great time chuckling right now. Like that. So, yeah. Classy bird. Okay, no, okay. If you know, you know. And I'm leaving it at that. I'm guessing by how much you're laughing, you'd completely forgotten until this moment. I actually, honestly, I need like, I was going to say I need a supervisor on a night out, but that wouldn't work because I would just be like, no.
No, because I've tried being your supervisor on nights out many times, and it just ends up with me being drunker than you somehow.
Yeah, don't try and supervise me because you'll end up corrupted.
Oh, Josh, I needed that laugh. That was nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Always here to help a shit day get better. But anyway, with that, I think, okay, right, guys, thanks for listening to the case. Thanks for listening to us chat and be ominous about nights out and whatnot. And follow us on social medias if you don't already. Twisted Talks on Facebook, Twisted Talks the Pod on, or is it Twisted Talks Pod? It's either Twisted Talks the Pod or Twisted Talks Pod on Instagram.
And by the way, we're going to be naming our Patreon Rebel Alley.
I forgot it was even called that.
Yeah, it's Rebel Alley. That's the name of that specific place.
Yes. Anyhow.
Thanks very much for listening.
Keep it coming with the suggestions, guys. Any of you that have any cases that you think would be cool, well, not cool, but you know what I mean, that you'd like to hear us cover anyway and whatnot, send them in. You can, if you know either of us personally, feel free to give us a message. If you want to message us through the page on Instagram, whatever.
And even if you don't follow the page or you don't feel comfortable messaging the page for whatever reason, I don't know why anyone wouldn't be, but just in case, people be anxious. Josh does run the social medias and the Instagram and things. I probably should take some responsibility for it.
I normally, to be fair, I'm lazy anyway, so I'm like, when I'm in a productive mood, I just schedule everything then so that it's done in one sitting.
Exactly. So if for whatever reason you don't want to message the Twisted Talks page and you are someone who knows us or is from town, you can always message us individually on our own pages if you follow us on our own pages.
And for some reason, those of you that might like to use email, our email is in the bio on Instagram, so you can reach out that way as well.
Yes.
Also, just like, I don't know why, but if we cover a case that someone suggested and you don't want us to shout you out for giving us the case, include that in your suggestion because by default we will.
Absolutely. But if you want to stay anonymous, just say to us, please keep me anon, and we'll absolutely do that. We are all for respecting people's rights and their privacy.
I like how you abbreviated it to anon because anytime I hear that, I just think of Grindr. A non-straight guy. You're on Grindr.
You're clearly not straight.
And if I meet you, you're no longer a non.
I know them
also,
freckles.
I don't meet blank profiles.
I know them freckles. Sorry, what you said?
Oh, I was saying also I don't meet blank profiles because I don't want to end up being a case.
No. I have spent many years beating safety into Josh, and I think it's finally working. So
well, in one aspect it worked, in another it still hasn't. But
yeah, sure. Look, I'll take what I can get.
Anyhow, once again, the third or fourth time saying goodbye. Good luck and thanks, and we hope you enjoyed it. 5-star reviews, please and thank you. Love you all. Appreciate you all. And even though it's like the end of January, start of February by the time this goes up, Happy New Year again, because fuck it,
Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year's. And, live your best life. Dye your hair. Get piercings.
And
hide from the world in a hut in the middle of the woods.
Yes. Okay.
And don't be like the people we talk about.
Okay. I'll take that advice on board. Okay. So
processing.
All right.
Sinking in.
Yeah.
Okay,
right. Okay. All right. Go on. Good luck. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.